Good morning, gardeners, and welcome to Monday, May 1st. Don't worry, this show has nothing to do with actual gardening, so don't run away if you're like me and can't grow green things. I'm speaking of gardening metaphorically. We're planting the seeds for a better day. We're cultivating a better world for ourselves, our communities, and even the global community. Today is International Workers' Day, known as Labor Day in some countries and May Day in Europe. It's a celebration of laborers in the working classes that is promoted by the international labor movement. So, yesterday there was a special carnival type event at my son's school to which all parents were invited. Now, I didn't look too much into this event except to realize that it wasn't something that I was interested in, but my son was greatly looking forward to it and he asked for some cash that he could spend at the various attractions and games. I'm not entirely sure what all was going on at this event, but it was during the school day when I prefer to be working, so while I didn't choose to attend the event, I did choose to drive to my son's school shortly before the event started to drop off some cash for him to spend. And of course, all the proceeds were going to the improvement of his school. So that would definitely be something that I would want to contribute to anyway. So as I was driving up to his school, I noticed that a lot of other parents were also driving up to the school, parking, getting out, going to the event area, whereas I just parked and walked straight to the office and dropped off some cash and then left. And as I was leaving, I once again was going, the opposite direction from all these parents who were headed into the school to participate. I felt a little guilty. I thought, all these parents are coming to show up for the event and participate, but I am just dropping off cash and leaving. Like, I should be like them. I should be one of the parents that is participating. And then after I felt that initial guilt, I realized that there's no need whatsoever for me to feel guilty. It was a voluntary event and everyone was invited to participate at their comfort level. My comfort level was donating some cash and leaving, and I still participated by doing that. And then after I sort of got over that feeling of guilt, I kind of laughed because I thought, what must I look like to, the people in the office? Most likely they don't even care, but I still thought it was kind of funny. But yeah, I used to force myself to go to a lot of events that I did not want to go to when I was younger. And I think it not only was harmful to me, but it was probably harmful, or at least not helpful, to the other people at those events because, let's be honest, we can all tell when someone is forcing themselves to do something and they don't really want to be there. I have gotten tons of feedback from people saying that I'm cold, saying that I'm distant, and of course, as an adult, realizing this is just part of who I am. It's just part of my personality. But a lot of that also could have been because I wasn't really into whatever social event at which I met these people. And I was just sort of forcing myself to go along with it. So also at the end of the experience, I chose to feel grateful that I don't force myself to do anything that I'm not comfortable with anymore. When I was younger, a lot of times, and this sounds really bad, but I think it's actually super common. A lot of times I would intentionally drink alcohol as a way to get buzzed or, slightly drunk before these events. I would never drive to these events, but, I would have a friend or my partner drive me, and the alcohol was a way of numbing myself to the discomfort of attending these things. And I've recently stopped drinking, and I am so grateful that I have stopped drinking, because it allows me to have these sorts of realizations about, what am I forcing myself to do and what am I actually enjoying? And you have to be able to truly feel your emotions and feel what's going on inside of your body in order to figure those things out. We can speak more about that in another episode, but for today, I am going to move on to our feel-good moment, which you may have already guessed. It is about turning down invitations. In case it wasn't already abundantly clear, I want to let you know that it is okay to turn down invitations. Turning down invitations does not make you antisocial. It makes you selective. And just because you turn down one invitation does not mean that you have to turn them all down. You are free to cultivate the types of experiences you participate in. In my experience, there is a lot of guilt that can come from turning events down. It can be difficult not to get defensive when someone questions your absence or your refusal to participate. Of course, it is easy to say that you are allowed to turn down invitations, and it's not always easy to ward off those feelings of guilt or defensiveness. So today we are going to explore some concepts that might help you better understand why you don't want to attend some events, but you might want to attend others. And in my experience, gaining this knowledge about yourself can be really helpful in warding off those feelings of guilt and defensiveness. So in Psycho-Cybernetics, Maxwell Maltz makes a really interesting claim about socializing. In this section, he's writing about something he calls the failure mechanism, which is basically just what it sounds like. It's a mindset that prevents people from succeeding. He says, all of us are lonely at times. Again, it is a natural penalty we pay for being human and individual. But it is the extreme and chronic feeling of loneliness, of being cut off and alienated from other people, that is a symptom of the failure mechanism. This type of loneliness is caused by an alienation from life. It is a loneliness from your real self. The person who is alienated from his real self has cut himself off from the basic and fundamental contact with life. The lonely person often sets up a vicious cycle. Because of his feeling of alienation from self, human contacts are not very satisfying, and he becomes a social recluse. In doing so, he cuts himself off from one of the pathways to finding himself, which is to lose oneself in social activities with other people. Doing things with other people and enjoying things with other people helps us to forget ourselves. In stimulating conversation, in dancing, playing together, or in working together for a common goal, we become interested in something rather than maintaining our own shams and pretenses. As we get to know the other fellow, this book is old, we feel less need for pretense. We unthaw and become more natural. The more we do this, the more we feel we can afford to dispense with the sham and pretense and feel more comfortable just being ourselves. So let me reread you the two sentences that really blew my mind in that section. Because of his feeling of alienation from self, human contacts are not very satisfying, and he becomes a social recluse. In doing so, he cuts himself off from one of the pathways to finding oneself in social activities with other people. Now, I had to think on that sentence, or those two sentences, that section, after I read it, because I have been a staunch introvert for the vast majority of my life. I never would have consciously admitted or believed that I could actually know myself better by interacting with other people. So my initial reaction to that was, that is a really bold claim, Maxwell Maltz. And I'm still kind of on the fence about it. I am fascinated by it, but I do believe that I have had some social experiences that were fulfilling and did help me connect with myself better. They have been rare, but I do believe that they have happened. But in my mind, I don't think of those moments as socializing. I think of those times as connecting. And those are the times that I have connected with other humans. But I wasn't worried about socializing or being social. So I was able to relax and connect, and thereby connect with myself better. So for today's focus moment, I want you to recall a social event, if you can, that felt empty. For some of us, that will be extremely easy. Maybe this social event left you feeling drained and disconnected. Maybe you left a party feeling more lonely than you felt when you showed up. Next, try to recall a social moment that left you feeling fulfilled. This does not have to be a party or a gathering of 3 or more people. It just has to be any interaction with any human. Recall a human interaction that you had that gave you a feeling of connection, maybe even inner peace, maybe even more connection with your true self. Next, think of the differences between these two moments. I like to think of the difference between these two types of moments as socializing versus connecting, but you should try and think of it in a way that makes most sense for you. What do you think helped you connect in the second event but prevented you from connecting in the first event? Was it the number of people involved? Maybe it was the amount of activity around you. Was at a big party with lots of music and entertainment, dancing, noises, flashing lights, etc. Or maybe it was the type of people involved that made the difference. Maybe you connect best with a certain type of personality, but you really struggle to connect with another type of personality. Finally, briefly brainstorm one way that you can create fewer of the disconnecting moments and one way that you could create more of the connecting moments. For me, what I've realized is if I want to have more connecting moments, I need to seek out people who have a common interest as me that is related to something philosophical or intellectual. But I have found that simply socializing with people on the basis of things like where I live, where my child goes to school, the workplace that I happen to be affiliated with, those types of things, they always leave me feeling empty, disconnected, and drained. But a meeting of like minds where we can really dig into a meaningful discussion and really share our true selves, that does help me connect more with my true self. So I really hope that you are able to gain some clarity on this topic today. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will speak with you again tomorrow.